106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Let's get this show on the road.
Before you say anything, prepare to shut the fuck up.
Screw me. I ripped ass at the ATM.
McLovin! Nice!
Sit back, relax, and enjoy Irrelevant Platitudes with your hosts Peter Benici and Lil Dazil. James and Razzie.
4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to episode number 40 of Irrelevant Platitudes. We host Peter Benici and
James Walker.
with
Razzie.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Too much, James. What's going on with you?
Oh, not much. Welcome to the podcast. We've got Razman on for the first time. How do you feel, mate?
I think because I've been to so many of these in the behind the scenes
Downstairs.
it just feels pretty normal.
You're all juiced in and ready to go and talk about two-timing this week.
Two-timing.
Two-timing.
Ooh.
Being naughty.
Is that what the story is?
Mm.
I can't wait to delve into that and share my musings.
We usually go into the point where we talk about people's weeks and stuff, but I figure since people are going to listen and they don't necessarily know you, do we want to cover how we know each other?
Do we cover the fake story that we
The safe
planned
one.
before?
Yeah.
Nah. It's actually a funny story. We met at a club where you meet all your lifelong friends, right?
Yeah, right. All good people.
Back
you
in the
meet at
day when we
clubs.
were young 20-year-old whippersnappers.
We met at like the seediest, dirtiest, woggiest venue on a Friday,
Yeah,
right? Which we
Lumber.
can say because we wogs and it's fine. It's not racist.
Far out. That was... I didn't even see you guys that night. Like, I didn't know, because I was with a couple of my mates, Paulie, who's been on the podcast before. And then the night we're driving home, Paulie was driving as always. And they're like, yeah, Badooch, Ninos, this other guy. I'm like, man, who are they? And then we saw you guys out. It was the next time we saw you guys out that we started like talking properly. And
You know, that was full crazy. So I didn't want to go out because I was like, nah, it's Jordan. I was like, he's a fucking idiot. I don't want to hang out with those guys. Ninos was like certain, 100%. He's like, nah, trust me, they're
that's
good. They're good.
hilarious.
And you know when like you have those moments where you're like, Ninos knows what's going on. I'm just going to trust him.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see what happens.
But Jordy has that effect on people. It's almost like a self-filtering. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be overly obnoxious, going to be overly whatever. And then whoever sticks around, yeah, cool.
That's
They've
it. And that
passed
was
the test.
that over 10 years ago now?
And
Yeah.
which woggy venue
Alhambra.
was the backdrop?
Alhambra.
It was Alhambra.
Yeah, it was Alhambra. And,
The pinnacle.
and then I remember
Fridays at Alhambra. That was like,
that second time when they met you and when I finally met you guys, and we were in the car on the way home as always. And then we're having this conversation and we're talking about like fucking Nooch, Ninos, legends. And then Jordy was like, Shaka Ninos.
that worked out well for him,
And
didn't
Paulie turned around, like, Shaka Nooch.
it? Aw.
And that's what really happened.
And they
now-
tried to fuck the girls that we were with. Remember that?
No,
That's why they were talking to us. We went out
Man,
with
that was a blur that whole
two
period.
friends, yeah. But yeah, so that's how we met, guys. It's been fucking forever and a day.
Yeah, pretty much. You didn't invite us to your 21st. I remember that.
Yeah, because it was like that weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I stand by that. Yeah, so
So it's been a while. It's been a journey. It's been a journey of what, 12 years almost. Yeah,
yeah,
12
quick math.
years.
Quick math.
at least.
Thank you, engineer sir.
Um,
Much appreciated.
We've been through a lot. I've been overseas.
That's it. And that's how I know James is through you. That's how I know
Yeah.
Lil is through you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's true.
So we wouldn't be here right now in this context
It's
and capacity.
appropriate that you're in the middle seat because
Yeah.
the podcast revolves
Does
around
Nice. I was just like, yeah, fuck couch. I'm on that
middle seat's
shotgun.
alright, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been wanting to crack this the entire time, and I don't know why we've been delaying it, but
Drink of the week.
yes. So this week's drink of the week to everyone watching is, what is it, -196 or -196? How do you pronounce it?
Minus 196.
-196
I reckon
is
the way to go.
so it's a Japanese soju vodka and soda with natural.
Why is it
lemon.
called? Is it brewed at minus
I
100?
don't know. Maybe that's
you got one?
freezing point. For,
No, I've got my own drink of the
Grab
week.
one, or you can do your own if you
Yeah.
like.
That's actually.
I just wanted to match my attire, so I just got like a black Here we have a Jack Daniels
Cheers.
10% strong drink. Cheers.
Jeez.
Cheers. Did you see that, Alana? If you're watching, eye contact. I didn't have to say anything.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fucking
actually really
delicious.
nice.
Do you know what one?
Yeah, no, I'll
Not
finish
even
this and then
sweet.
Well played. No.
It tastes like a fucking lemon.
Yeah, it's really
And the
good.
minus 196 is because that's the temperature they drop the lemons to before they smash them, because they don't juice them, because that would bruise the lemon juice.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
tell me
These guys
more
are
about this
Japanese.
lemon.
Well,
Oh,
actually,
they
the
freeze it
Chinese,
at minus
the
one.
Chinese invented the juicing of the lemon, but it was the Japanese who actually perfected it. So,
I
Is it
can't tell if
really
James is
minus
joking anymore.
196?
full of shit. What?
Is it really minus 196? Why would they need to freeze it at that temperature?
I don't think they're making.
We've got
a
both
point.
girlfriends in the chat now,
Making a
Amy
point.
and Alana.
Oh shit, we should get them on sometime.
Amy in house.
We'll have a girlfriend episode soon.
Yeah, I'm my mind's still like stuck on that minus 196. I'm like,
They're trying to prove the point. They could have done it at minus 10, but
yeah, they're
They're
like, no, fuck
Japanese.
you guys. This is special.
they're Japanese.
Yeah.
All right. Whilst that's amazing, let's get into the TikToks, dudes. Okay, you don't want to see the story yet, team.
Don't blow
All
it.
right. Headphones on, gentlemen. To everyone listening every week, I troll the internet and try and pick some stuff to make people laugh because these clips do really well on the internet. And that's how we're going to grow the podcast. Get that. That's beautiful. And ruin that.
Your lure will make if tuned correctly.
Oh, yeah.
The sound
It's always a cheap one. Like the Hoya is always the safest bet.
Can I hear it again?
You
Sorry.
can. I'll unmute.
sound your lure will make if tuned correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sorry. Couldn't hear it properly.
All the ones I send you, I'm secretly hoping you play on here.
I realized one headphone's out, so I couldn't tell whether that was
Oh,
a joke
shit.
or not.
Is it? Just force it in.
No, I think
Should
it's
come back.
some
To do with the
to do with the
impedance.
connector somehow.
I know Drake stole my flow, bro, and that's the end of it. He took a line from you, and you took the same line from another nigga. And you fat as fuck. Everybody know Drake stole my flow, bro.
I just like the way they talk. You guys don't have to laugh.
Keeps cutting out.
That made me laugh.
No, it's kind
I
of.
think that says more about me.
Laughing at the Ebonics.
Ebonically speaking, you don't know shit. I can't remember what movie that's from.
The heat coming off of that rap.
I've seen this.
Christ, what the hell? The heat coming off of that rap. Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Takes me back to my London days.
I missed this dribble.
The drool is like, it's
I
a
missed
lot.
that.
Oh my god, I didn't even see that.
That's, you didn't see it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
It's a lot.
Oh shit, did I just jump? I jumped, didn't I? No?
You like a church window. Oh, my God, bro.
So to everyone listening to these, please jump over to Spotify. I've got all the video. That definitely was something you need to see for yourself. They're not the best this week, guys. I apologize.
I was in London, Canada. They have one. And doesn't that kind of bother you a little bit? Like when a barely city is like, let's just name it after an awesome city. And they have the nerve to ask you, like, how do you like London? The real one or this turd you put in a dress? Because, like, fucking balls on Paris, Tennessee, to name their city Paris, and then they built a mini Eiffel Tower. Like, you're gonna walk around confused, like, well, bonjour, I don't even know where I'm at. Can I get me a croissant? Fuck Paris, Tennessee. I was in.
Okay, I just put that one
I
in
love
'cause I
that
love
that beep
Tom
was
Segura.
like not anywhere near the swear word.
He still swore. All right. So that's this week's TikToks. I know it was bad. Okay, I was.
How do you feel? How do you pick your TikToks?
If it makes me laugh at some point, I'll be like, that'll be good.
Are they ones that you kind of like find during the day, or people send to you?
Yeah. So at any point.
Because I like send you a few throughout the week. Well,
See, I laugh at those, but I've seen a lot of them, and I think I'll start including yours. I feel bad
because when I send them, I'm like, fucking hell. Little part of me is like, oh, is he going to put it on? Is he
I didn't know that. I thought it was just a cute thing.
One where
but they were also hilarious.
Where they did, it was like National Geographic or something, and it shows this study where they studied the larynx of the mummy. And they reconstructed.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking.
Oh, is that the?
I was like, Mooch is definitely.
Yeah. No, I did know.
And
really
they're
good.
like, this is what they said. I was like, man, this is the funniest one I've ever seen. Mooch is going to use
reminded me of
it.
that. I was like, that's a.
I'm glad you brought that up because in my mind I was like, there was one I sent Nooch that I'm like, this is fucking.
Did you send it to me on Instagram?
But like ages ago. And you,
I should have prepped it. I don't have it. I will get it for you next week. I feel terrible now.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. Tom Segura, I can see your biases.
Yeah, that's my feed's very one-sided. Okay, but next we are going to jump straight into why everyone's here. Dating and relationship advice. Am I right?
And all the while, you're just really wondering, are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? Perhaps play a little game called Just a Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels.
Okay. So this week we're going to talk about two-timing. We had a friend of the show drop in an anonymous message / story that I've kind of had to deconstruct and write a small little thing. That's what's happened. Have you guys both given it a quick squiz?
You know what? I actually read it. I did more prep for this than I do for my day job. Yeah.
He doesn't. He's fully prepared for work, guys, if anyone from work ever listens to this. But look, the grammar's going to be pretty average because I word vomited it while we're at work. But strap yourselves in.
Are you going to read it out?
I'm going to read it. All right. Friend of the pod, we're going to call Schlebke. So for anyone that knows this person, if you cannot say that in the chat, that would be fantastic. All right. So Schlebke was dating the subsequent love of her life, Chad McDixon. The pair had been dating on and off again for a few years, always remaining together, but never official. The on-again, off-again dynamic duo were two young, sexy individuals enjoying the benefits of dating, but not dating, if that makes sense. Do we need to read it as a full story, or should I just go into the dot points?
If you can
the
do
story's
the
like long-winded as fuck.
Yeah, I feel like if you read it enough and you can freestyle it in your own way, then that would be better.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, you want to keep the flavor of the story though. It had.
If you remember the flavor of it,
did you like the way it was written?
I like the flavor.
You like the way it was written?
Good. Yeah.
Okay. So as time passed, the lovely Schleb began to realize the young Chad McDixon is a pretty fun human to be around. They shared similar interests. The sex was fucking ridiculous, and safe to say, the pair were well suited for one another. With a clear connection forming between the two, Schleb finally had the "what are we doing" conversation. With Chad having finally grown tired of Chad's inability to commit. Schleb finally... Oh, Jesus, it's getting bad now, isn't it? All right. So she'd obviously decided at this point that it's time to shit or get off the pot.
Was this like after 2 years?
This was during their whole period, so towards the last few months of them kind of seeing each other. It's, when you kind of with someone, but it's never ever kind of really going to go anywhere. You're having that chat of like, the one person's like, I'm really invested. Where are we going with this? And then the other person's obviously not. So she had that point where it was like, I don't really want to have that commitment thing. So they basically just stayed as fuck buddies, as you would. Where are we?
I'll let you continue.
Yeah,
and
please.
go through the whole thing
Please.
before I offer
For the love of God.
my musings.
Please resume, yes.
So our outstanding male specimen, Chad, decided to opt out of said proposition. The pair continued to keep in touch and see each other fairly regularly. Okay. I also forgot to mention that they both worked at the same company and were basically going to see each other every single day. So this... I guess casual relationship was going to obviously start to have some fucking issues straight out of the gates. Chad begins to tell the entire workplace how much he regrets his decision of kind of telling Schleb after 2 years that that's it. So basically what had happened was they had this conversation and then they were just going to kind of give it a break. And then he actually started crying at work, telling people that like he'd fucked up And then it kind of
fucked up by ending it, not fucked up by having spent this to you.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying, Razman. Right.
Nucci's hot when he talks about stuff.
Is that what Amy said?
That's one of our viewers. Yeah.
That's.
I'm glad you can read that because I can't see it from here.
Okay. So to be fair, obviously, if you're in a workplace where you're hearing things like the person that you've just kind of been seeing but not is regretting it, that's when she kind of started to think, oh,
and
hang on a second.
And it was Schleb was the one who was asking about the plans for the future.
Yeah, she wanted to make it like legit and lock that shit down.
And Chad was like, nah, fuck off. And then later.
Yeah. So I guess it should know that there's an age gap between them. He's in his early 20s and she's in her late 20s.
Okay.
So it's obviously he's in a space where he's enjoying the Pound Town and just wants to keep doing said things. And I think she's looking for something a bit more stable.
Settle down.
Yeah. All right, where are we? So, but then again, like as I said just before, hearing that sort of stuff at work, it kind of gives you that glimmer of hope. So then they start hanging out again, and then back into my
keep reading.
Amazing,
I can finish the whole thing.
Thanks, man. Okay, so the on again, off again orgasm fest soon starts back up. Schleb this time fully aware that Chad isn't a human that can offer the dynamic that she's looking for. But as most of us do once affected by the symptomatic dick drunkisms and or pussy paralysis, we enter back into the cycle asking ourselves, surely if they're spending this much time with me, they must feel the same way.
I was a bit worried until you added and pussy paralysis. Like some of us experience dick drunkenness.
That's right.
Or pussy paralysis.
Needless to say, Chad doing what all Chads do to verify all of these feelings, but again, wasn't at the point where the relationship was going to go any further. Obviously, at that point, that is a red flag. If you keep going back into the cycle and the person keeps giving you these stop starts.
Well, I think there's a key differentiator. But
go. Because we're at a break in there.
I was just going to say, like, this whole thing seems like not common, but like it depends, like what they've communicated to each other. Like going into it, was the expectation? Did they communicate to each other? Okay, look, we're both single. We know what this is. We know like where we're at. And for example, like did Schleb at the start say, oh yeah, like this is awesome, and but like I'm not really in a place for anything serious, or he said that, or they had this check-in with each other, how they're feeling. Obviously, if it went for 2 years, and it seemed casual from what I can read, is that they both knew that it was casual, but like did they actually say that to each other, and that they knew, I guess, what the other person was expecting from it, and what was the dynamic of the relationship? Was it just random hookups? Were they randomly hanging out just to have sex? Were they hanging out, going on dates without having sex, without kissing, forming like a relationship? Or was it just purely...
Yeah, so the time up until she asked him if they were dating, it was basically a proper relationship.
Yeah,
so it had the banging with nothing else, and then it had the hanging out with the banging. It had the hanging out without the banging.
What's so funny about it is that the dynamic changes based on recognition of where it's at. So initially you've got two people, who are in this situation, and she's like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So then Chad's like, oh my God, what the fuck do I want to do?
Yeah.
And so he freaks out and he's like, I'm just going to just bail,
100%.
I'm just fucking going to bail.
Yeah.
And then he bails and then he's like, oh man, like fuck. And so then he goes back, by which point she's like, what an immature fuckwit. Like, he doesn't even know what he wants.
Yeah.
It's certainly not a definite me, And so
100%.
So then she's like, fuck this guy. And then he's kind of like, oh, but, now I'm cucked. I've cucked myself.
Yep.
To use it.
Yeah, I think communication is obviously
you're good to use cuck, mate.
The most important thing. But
Cuck yourself is someone else's
even if they had communicated at the start, like 2 years is a long time, even if they communicated at the start, right? And they're like, which it's rare that people actually will say that at the start. But if they kind of got a understanding of what the dynamic was at the start, and they were like, okay, obviously we are enjoying having sex, we're enjoying this, we like each other's company, but we're living different lives, whatever. They kind of got the feel that it was casual, and they may have had the conversation about, look, I don't want a relationship. So they know it's just casual.
Yeah.
But regardless of that conversation, if 2 years have passed and the dynamic changes and you're hanging out with this person and you're like thinking of them and you're wanting to like, I don't know, they've met, even if they haven't met your family, but like you get the feel of like.
Can confirm. Because dad works at the place that they work at.
That just adds gravity to it.
But
It's by the way,
it's one
but
thing
that's
having
gravity
that
to
conversation at the start, but then you feel if something's changed. You're like, oh, hang on, like we're just cuddling and it's nice to have this person here. We're hanging out more often. We're in each other's lives, and the dynamic of the kind of connection changes.
Yeah.
Then it's perfectly valid for her to be like, okay, what the fuck, okay,
And that's you've hit the nail on the head. That's why she's asked.
what's
that.
happening
Yeah.
here now, like, and perhaps in this guy's mind, he might not have expected that because either in his mind he didn't want it, or in his mind he's like, fuck, okay, I can feel this too, but I'm scared because.
Would you like me to shed more light as to probably why he kept delaying it?
Yeah, go.
Because there was. Did you see the dot points?
I saw.
There's some stuff coming.
Yeah, but that end thing seemed like it was out of nowhere, but I didn't read the second one. Go, keep going.
All right, cool. So I'll actually jump into the dot points that Schleb sent through, but we probably need to cover Chuck the Cuck as well. So
that's why I reckon keep reading the whole thing because like.
But then the dot points come back. All right, so we'll do that. I'll keep
for
reading.
people watching.
Yeah. All right, so things continue on fairly steady for some time. There is one thing that we've missed thus far during during one of their sanctioned breaks. Schleb may have possibly fucked Chad's best friend. And we're going to use the name Chuck the Cuck for this story. So this needs to be kept in mind going forward that during a break, she has fucked his best friend while they're not dating.
But break, were they exclusive when they were in
No,
this
never
So how was there a
exclusive.
break?
It's between the break of them actually hanging out,
Yeah.
like they're dating.
In regards to that, the best friend thing's always,
Yeah, right? That's always going to add some extra fuckisms to it. Where are we? Okay, so... Yep. Okay, so with this kind of on the outside of the story, things continued fairly steady for some time. Chad keeps a steady supply of orgasms, seemingly on demand, and I think that seems to be the core dynamic of this relationship at this point. The lovely young chap decides to take a solo trip to Bali to just surf and chill, brah. And I'm not even kidding. That's legitimately the vernacular used. Plus, I have some mates in Bali, and I'll just kind of hang out with them. Schleb thinks nothing of it and continues about town enjoying herself. Chad eventually returns to Oz, and for her birthday, the trio, Chad, Schleb, and Chuck, all go out to a pub and have a drink. I think there's a few more people there, so it's not just an intimate dinner or something. The booze starts flowing, and at a certain point, Chad goes to the toilet, and I don't know why, but Chuck decides to say to Schleb while they're at the table, if she knew that Chad went to Bali and hung out with his ex-girlfriend, we're going to call Amelia. And that's not even, it's not to do with reference to myself. Just worked out that way. And yeah, so obviously shocked. Shit kicked off at this dinner. And I'm going to jump into the dot points, so if you guys can cover me while I read. I guess, how would you guys feel in that sort of scenario? Do you kind of feel the age of the dude involved at this point?
The thing that's like glares or stares me in the eyes, that's like, what the fuck, is regardless of what the dynamic that they had before he went on this trip, like, why would he lie about what he's doing? I think even if it was just casual, which it seemed like it was on paper, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Casual. And
but he did just enough to keep it casual, definitely.
Yeah, like, why would he then feel the need to withhold that information that he was going on a trip with her, like, with this person, and tell her that he was doing something else? Like, if it's casual, he should have said it. If it was not casual and they were together, then he shouldn't have done it.
So even though it's casual, it does have a feeling of like a proper relationship, right? Like,
yeah, it seems like,
because it feels like cheating.
Obviously, when you've had this much time with someone, regardless of whether it's official or not, you feel you can feel when there's feelings or you might hurt someone, which is obviously why he's lied about it.
Yeah.
Because he knows that she might be hurt, or he's taken the easy route of like not having to engage in that conversation of him going on this holiday with her. So
and that's actually so that's what he says to like, because she calls him out. So now I'm reading from the dot points that she sent in, because she calls him out on it, and I heard you caught up with Amelia, to which he replies, "You and I weren't talking at the time."
Yeah, but still, if he lied about it, like he obviously felt
labeling. So it's a labeling issue. So basically, they both feel and know the truth. There's a relationship going on, you know, and so then she feels it. She goes, "Oh, I'm going to ask about it," and he's like, "Fuck, I hope she doesn't ask." So she asks about it, and then he's like, "Oh no, fuck," doesn't know what to do, and avoids the situation, and he's, you know, like, "Oh, what the fuck? I've lost my fuck buddy." Like, that was obviously convenient. He was choosing to do it anyway, so he obviously liked it, but he's lost this thing. So I was like, "Oh well, don't have that anymore. I'll go off and do something else." Goes off and does that. Obviously, not that it doesn't mean anything, but then later on, she's like, "Oh well, I'm upset because you've got," or not upset, but you've gone off and done this. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh well, you know, like." Nothing was going on.
Your chat is amazing, by the way. The swagger that comes with
I haven't read this bit. I don't even know how it ends.
Chad's aloof and burly.
Can you read that from there?
If
You have great eyesight. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
But see, that's the thing. Despite Chad's aloof and burly appearance, he feels the thing at the base of it. He knows what's actually going on, but he's just not able to address it.
See, that's what tripped me out. All of the feelings of regret and stuff that he had at the start, to then go on a trip later and then have your ex. So the ex was from overseas, and so they'd arranged for her to catch up.
Do we have context here? Like, why did they break up? What was the go there?
I don't know the context behind that.
Do we know if they hooked up when they were there? It was just a friend thing.
I would assume they definitely banged for sure.
Do we know where she was from?
I think she's Aussie, but she's from Europe.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say Belgian, but I don't.
No,
I can't confirm that.
That's
a good average Europe. Yeah.
It's a good run of the middle European.
Yeah.
So, and this is what she says. She goes, "At this point, I'm sus that he went on the holiday with her. So I go on her Instagram. I confront him about the trip to Bali. And so... but he completely ignores me and my queries and starts waffling on about some random irrelevant shit. She then reaches out directly to Amelia with photos of Chad. And she basically shows that, you know, they've been dating and they've gone out on weekends and like family shit together. So Amelia has no idea that he's basically dating another chick in Melbourne. And they chat on the phone. She says for hours. Okay. She told me it was 4.5 hours they spoke on the phone. And they just kind of tried to marry up stories, photos and screenshots and kind of get the full picture of what was going on. You say something? You go.
Oh, no, don't worry.
All right. So Amelia then confronts him and then records the fucking conversation. I don't have it. I wish I did.
Yeah, that would really be amazing right now.
Yeah, he does start crying on it, and I think that's a bit much. Probably don't need to play that. But he then basically tries to lie himself out of the situation and says that they don't work together anymore, and that they're not really around each other, and it was more of a fling thing with Schleb.
So he obviously at this point had feelings for his ex based on these dot points I'm reading.
Yeah. And then they obviously both simultaneously come at him and tell him that they both know they've been talking.
So there's a possible overarching, he's just a dog and he's playing the whole situation.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, nah, I don't want to hook up with you. He's got the other ex that he's not more than happy with, but he's happy to cheat on, effectively.
Yeah.
You know, he's got this other thing going on. And so then she confronts him, do you want to be exclusive? He's like, fuck, no, I don't. Then he's like, damn, I lost my fuck buddy and the other one's overseas.
Yeah.
So then he goes and says at work, oh, damn, I really wish I fucking didn't do that.
So was this overseas one?
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious, was there a potential for them. Like
To get
it
back
seems
together.
like that they were going to get back together, maybe,
Yeah.
or like.
So that's what me reading between the lines. I think maybe he does ultimately maybe want to end up with the one that he made fly to Bali.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so he'd organised that trip with her and then brought her down and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so the once they basically
But
did
he was
it,
doing all the other things. He was meeting the family, the other girl, and everything
Yeah.
as well.
that's
Who
some
could be
sociopathic
fucked?
shit,
Who
man.
could
Like,
be bothered?
In the
just
end,
be single, dude.
in the end, basically, they've had this conversation.
Yeah.
He's lost both of them.
Mhm.
And do we know the truth about, like, I almost want to interview this guy. Like,
Chad.
Who was he into either of them? Was he just, like, playing them off?
I think if you put yourself in his position, but add like that weird narcissistic sociopath ability you'd need to have, like to move someone.
But it's
from
either
another
that
place.
or just immaturity and
yeah, that's
self-worth
what I mean.
issues.
Remember being
right?
like that young, like early 20s.
He thinks it's like a movie, and he's like, "Oh, I'm good there."
Yeah, but he's just trying to come as much as humanly possible.
But even when I was that young, like there's an element of being a fucking
cunt
idiot,
Yeah.
and not like and actively lying here. So like,
yeah,
regardless of how insecure or self-worth or whatever issues or things you have when you're growing up, like you can have that and still not fuck people over and lie to them. Whereas it seems like here he's let that get the better of him and lied to both of these people and fucked himself over, which is good.
He's unlucky, but it's, and actually, you know what? We need to circle back to the best friend that then fucked his mate's fuck buddy.
What happened there?
And then told her that he went overseas to meet his ex. And then so there's a part that I skipped over. He then tries to make everything okay because Chad messages him being like, "You fucked everything," which is fair. Because I think the one thing you wouldn't expect to get blindsided by is probably a mate. And then he doesn't know to this day that this best friend who lagged him into this chick fucked her and then threw him under the bus. And so the whole time, this guy is then trying to then talk Schleb back off the ledge and be like, you know, just talk to him about it. Like, so then he goes into a simp position with his mate, trying to fix that relationship.
But the whole time he doesn't know that his best mate just fucked this.
And he still is kind of trying to fuck her
Poor
to this
Chad.
day.
Anti-Chad.
There's
He's an anti-Chad.
It's just so
You need
weird.
a balance of Chad and anti-Chad in the world.
It just sounds like a bunch of cunts that hang out.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, some
Chad
growth.
shit.
Yeah, what can we
it is. It
conclude?
really is. Chadisms everywhere.
From all of this, what can we conclude from all of these things? I think a few of them, the main thing, like I said from the start, is communication. Like, there's obviously a lack of communication from all fronts. Like,
Do you think a large portion of that is just because he's a young dude wanting to come a lot?
but yeah, there's definitely
Remember being that young.
valid reasons behind that, and like,
It's the motivations of, it's like what, you know, like if what we buy is what like marketing sells us. So it's like if we're sold this like marketing thing that basically says like Disney thing, like girls want romance.
Yeah.
And then guys want pussy.
Yes.
So you sold this thing.
Mhm.
So you've got a young man who's sitting there going, yeah, cool. You know, I'm going to go after what I'm here to get, which is heaps of pussy.
Yes.
And then you've got the girl who's like 28, she's approaching
Yeah.
30, and
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
like, oh, well, I'm here for romance and
Yeah.
to do my biological
oh, so
clock
she was
thing.
older.
That's
She is
the
older,
thing.
yeah.
She's
Yeah.
28 and he's...
I'd like to know if Amelia was younger or older.
Was
I
it-
don't know.
Was the...
Yeah, these are the kinds of things that I see, and I think, okay, definitely they're not meant to be together. Him with either of them two, because of where he's at.
Correct.
And probably I don't know anything about them, but maybe they weren't at the, or maybe they were at the stage that they're ready for a relationship. But ultimately,
Yeah, I think
they're
it's
all
safe to
gonna
say they
learn.
both are at that.
They're all going to learn
If
a
she's
lot
flying,
from
if
this.
she's flying from Europe to Bali
Yeah.
to hang out with a dude,
So he should,
They want it,
from
yeah.
all of this, he should fucking learn a lot from this. And ideally, he would then up level and realize, fuck, okay, I fucked these two people over.
Yeah.
Why did I do this? What am I getting out of it? What is the net effect of everything that's happened here? Okay, fuck. Now I'm more aligned with who I'm at. I'm not going to do this again. I know what I want.
I think that's going to take him a few years.
Yeah.
Because
Because
that's what the thing
that's
is,
definitely a
because
phase.
he's
'Cause, like-
driven by his
Yeah.
the marketing pitch like that I'm saying, but
Yeah,
it's
for
driven
sure.
by, or like you said, come as
Come as
many
much as you
times
can. Yeah,
as humanly
100%.
possible.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So he's driven by this other thing. So he's like, this is what I've got to do. And then it's like you said, it's going to take a few years because when people are in that mode, they're just like, I've got these years to do this. And until those years are waning or something changes, I'm going to make the most of those years. So he's probably in that stage.
So in summary, fuck younger chicks, chat. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for me to kind of relate to those being young 20s and having that because I was in a relationship basically for 10 years. So
yes,
up until I was basically 30, I was in a two long-term relationships back to back. So my time of singledom was
I guess
the
just
last
look at what
year and a
happened to
half.
us though, with the cooming as much as humanly possible, because you could see that culture. That was
I could see that, but like I was always taken, so I never had that when I was younger. But now that I was like in the last, I mean, as of this week, I'm in an official relationship.
I don't have the clap thing. Fuck.
Amazing. But yeah, me being single for a year and a half for the first time in my adult life, it was like the first time that I felt like I was myself. And so like if I was single when I was younger, I don't know what the fuck I would have done. But in the past year and a half, I didn't have that whole thing of like that what sold to me into like come as much as you want or do whatever.
Yeah.
It was more like, oh, hang on. No, why am I doing this? It was more really like analytical and like.
Yeah. But you got to remember, he's also got himself, because a lot of guys will fall ass backwards into dating women. So he's landed into a thing with two girls that obviously both want relationships. And is like, because we don't know how many other girls he's talking to. He's trying to literally do whatever he can to keep these two options open for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say
it's coming from a place of famine.
He didn't go about it the right way because I would like to think, like if I think of myself back then, if I was single, I still would not fucking
do that,
lie and do those things. I would, maybe if I'd like it was the early days of like meeting two people at the same time. I'm like, wow, okay, fuck, who do I like more? Or
crossover is different.
Like it's fine
if
you're not in an official thing and like it's normal for people to like explore and have multiple things going on. But to actively lie about something like that shows, I guess, his age or his maturity. But not
like
good.
You said, it comes from that place of family. He's clutching at straws. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to try and keep these things
How do I get the pussy
going
out of this one? How do I get the pussy out of this
and
one?
keep the options open. And so rather than it being abundance, where it's like, oh, yeah, I've got this thing going and then there's this or that, he's obviously...
Imagine the
clutching
take
at
if he actually
straws.
does have heaps of girls on the run and this is just the run-of-the-mill shit and he's
I mean,
a full-blown
when
narcissist.
what was the timeline of this? When did this happen? Like
about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. In my mind, for some reason, I was thinking
Like a long
10
time
years
ago? Yeah, no.
I'm like, if he lived in Brunswick and he opened this conversation with them, he could have been in an open relationship and been poly.
Yeah. Cool. It's very Melbourne.
It's very in and
But
all.
also, if he controlled the images that were taken of him in Bali better, there'd have been no evidence. And he'd probably still be running around shooting, coming
So,
as many times as
ironically
humanly
enough,
possible.
Schleb had to go onto the other person's Instagram and then look at like locations because there was no photos together.
The other person's Instagram.
Yeah, the girlfriend's Instagram. And then basically just flat out asked her. So the preliminary was she looked and they were in there at the same time, around the same places at the same time. And that's when she's like, I'll reach out. And then she was like, yeah, I was there. And then he still was like, no, I'm not. Yeah.
It's a good lesson that he got.
Yeah.
So-
But he also needs to realize his mate's a shit cunt. Like, that's fucked.
But also, it sounds like they're in good company, you know. 'cause
Yeah,
he sounds
yeah,
like
yeah.
a bit of a shit cut himself.
100%.
I mean, they're in similar company.
Yeah.
They're in good company for one another.
That's the
is
saying,
what I
yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
That's the one,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think what's really important to people listening is, you know, hopefully you don't get to the point where you have these massive microaggressions to where you find out your best friend will literally put you in an awkward position and then fuck you over simultaneously and then try and make it all good.
There's a lot of people who are quite out of touch with reality as well. And so if I was like two-timing someone and about to run off on a holiday to Bali, I'd just be like, I would just know and just be like, okay, there's karma. there's fucking science, there's all sorts of different reasons why this is doomed. It's a numbers game, and the numbers are not in favor of this.
Yeah.
And even if you were just like, I'm in a relationship and I'm just going to quietly just go on this quiet one little date in a candlelit quiet little corner, whatever, like there's karma and there's someone's going to see you and someone's going to find out. You're not going to get away with it on some level.
Yeah, that's what you said, on some level. Because even if you get away with it
then
externally, then internally, you've got to fucking deal with that in your head about what you've done for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And the way I sometimes think of it is, if like there's so much mistrust and there's so much like, it's hard to kind of like trust people or to know like what's right and what's wrong, and this world pretty fucked up at the moment. So if you feel that like, oh, okay, everything's fucked, I may as well try and like do the right thing. If you can't do the right thing or like live the way that you hope that there are other people out there,
then why would there be anyone else who's
yeah.
living that way?
So if you fuck up and you've got to live with those like that fucking guilt or those consequences, then you're like, man, fuck, I thought I was strong. I thought like I knew what my morals and integrity was, but I fucked up. Shit, then everyone's fucked up. Like,
or even just as simple as you're in a relationship that you thought you cared about, and then you're like, well, I obviously fucking don't.
Yeah, exactly, right? If you're doing these things, then it's either like, A, you're not meant to be in that relationship if you're fucking someone over, or B, maybe you are meant to be in that, but you're not at the place in your mind and in your life
where you can actually accept what is for you. Yeah.
So I think what's ultimately, because in my drunken haze, I think I've understood what's fucked this guy over the long period. He's never told her they want to date. He's done datey type stuff.
Yeah.
Every time
that's
though,
fucked up.
he said,
but that's what
we
guys,
aren't dating.
That's what guys do. Usually the guys will, and they won't even realize that they're behaving. Like you'll see a guy behaving away and you're like, oh, he's just doing that because that's what he's got to do to get pussy. But guys won't even realize that they're doing that. They'll just like assume this.
But see, my year and a half of being single, I had a few times where I was like just overly sharing at the start, because I was scared of getting into that. I was like, okay, I know I don't feel like there's anything that could go on long term here. I don't want to lead this person on. I'm just like, okay, where are you at with this? Like, just to let you know, I'm in this place. And then
that comes later in life, though. There's no way in your early 20s you're going to be like, hey guys, so like I'm just looking at. Although
looking for anything.
That time that we were at Glamorama and just saw like multiple people of different fucking genders hook up in a circle, think they're probably entering a space. I've told this story a few times, but it was just after I'd broke up with my ex-girlfriend. Razzie was amazing and took me out, and we went to a very progressive club in Melbourne, and we sat down in like a little booth, and then there was a couple.
Was that when I just came back from Europe for like a couple of weeks?
But you'd been going out and stuff,
and the wizards were there.
Yeah, that's right. And we sat down, and then this couple kissed, and then a dude rocked up, and you could tell that like he was keen.
Yeah.
And then like, then the girl kissed the guy, and then the two guys kissed. And I just looked at you, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" You're like, "Yeah, man, that's going out now." And I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" I felt so fucking old at that point. But I think maybe because they're not from Melbourne. This story, I don't want to give location, but it's on the west side of Australia.
Oh yeah, so it could be anywhere west. Right?
Yeah.
Could
So
be Geraldton or
it's a very
River.
Oh shit!
Is that beers?
Yeah, they're all closed.
It's a very kind of not backwards, but I think probably slightly behind where we're at.
What's
so it's different.
What's the protocol of me needing to duck out for
Do you
1 minute?
actually need to piss me? Podcast?
I feel like you guys
We
can
usually just
carry
go
on.
back into the beer
bottles. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like but I'm fully exposed here. Like,
No, you can take your headphones. You can piss. Just remember where your mic is, and we should be right with levels.
I'll be back.
Razman's gonna piss. I could totally edit it anyway. But
you guys keep talking.
we'll keep going. So I guess with all of that in mind, I think if you find that you have to re-engage with someone that you're dating on those levels continuously.
Which levels of what are we doing? Where?
Yeah, what are we doing? And then the person keeps saying we're not together. Because if you look at it from his perspective, every time he said that to her that they're not together, he's meant it.
Yeah.
the actions have been the opposite. But if the language is that they're not together, you have to take it at face value. He's treating you like you're dating.
Funny because normally you're like, don't listen to what someone says.
Yeah.
Just look at what they do.
Yeah.
But in this one particular case,
Yeah, correct.
Like, don't worry about what he says.
Yeah.
What he does. They're just gonna fucking do that. You know?
And it is that thing of like, how do you know then when to like invert that rule, right? Because it, and that comes, I guess, with age, realizing that, he's listening to a voice message in the toilet.
Yeah, of course he is. Just doing some admin. He's doing some bathroom admin in there.
Fucking hell.
Efficiency.
It's supposed to be a soundproof room. It's not at all.
Yeah.
I can't concentrate with that in the background.
Yeah.
It's a fucking full-blown conversation.
Yeah. Wait till he sends a voice message back.
Yeah, right?
Even more distracting. Yeah.
What the fuck was I talking about? You're talking to someone, flipping the inverse and then figuring out that sort of thing.
You just look at their motivation and that's how you tell. Because someone usually, and again, I'm not like generalizing of genders or whatever, but usually guys are going to be pretty direct. They're not going to beat around the bush. They're not going to sugarcoat it or be all flowery with their. They're just going to say what they've got to say.
And exactly right. Like he's got nothing to lose. Sorry, nothing to gain by saying to you that you're single, like that you're not together, and then trying to date you.
Yeah,
he's doing it for a reason. Like that's logically like. If he wanted to date you, he would say it, and because you're dating anyway.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that he's saying to you, "We're not together."
Yeah.
And that should be your flag of like, he's dating me.
Yep.
And we're doing stuff with his family and stuff. I'm like the girl that he takes to the thing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to say it, and it's not because he has commitment issues.
But that's the reason you
because he's
believe it, because you've bailed him up and asked him, and you're like, "Come on, man! Like you're doing this thing. Like just fucking call a spade, you know?"
Yeah.
And then he's just like, yeah, no, that's not what it is. And it's like, okay, I'm calling you bluff. Like, if that's not what it is, then fucking walk away. And he's like, all right, see ya. You know, and then he fucking goes.
And the scary part to me is, like, I haven't actually said this to Schleb because it's just coming to me now. It's not just probably these two instances, because like he's trying to organize her to come from overseas or whatever, but he's most definitely fucking other girls in town.
Yeah.
Because they're not together.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I think, with people who are in that. You said we were talking about narcissism before and whatever else.
Yeah.
I think that's the people who do this, who have this.
Good voice message in the toilet, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's.
Sure, no.
Because there's being, addicted to love or relationships or that type of thing.
Yeah.
But people who actually. Collect and accumulate people, consume people, whatever it is. People actually do it to this degree. There's some sort of narcissism. They're feeding.
Oh,
something
for sure.
themselves.
This would be good to have Lil because she would.
And
be
they're
able to
feeding.
clinically tell us what's going on.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's
You could be a psych.
I think Lil would be able to correct me. So it's fine.
We can let it flow.
You tell me the truth. But so there's some sort of supply on their part, like they're needing some sort of like validation or proof that they're valid, and so they're seeking,
which is ironic because apparently he's a pretty attractive dude, and to like construct such a web,
generally
that's why I called him Chad.
Generally, it's
like the 6 foot blonde,
but that almost
dude.
makes more sense because it's like those people that are. What I've realized is those people that are good looking. And have that. It's like, okay, they
Fucking
know
hot.
that's what they've got. They're hot, they're good looking. It's like, okay. I was just about to make that same sound.
Every podcast.
They've grown up thinking, fuck, okay, I can get these girls, I can get this thing, like this is what I've got. And then they get after a few years, they're like, okay, this feels empty, this feels hollow. Like I'm doing these things because of my appearance, because of this thing. And really they're like, fuck, okay, it's not like satiating my needs. I don't feel happy. I don't feel fulfilled. What the fuck's going on? I've got everything. But no, it's because they're living that whole like, I can be with who I want, or I can have these hookups. I'm seen as attractive. I'm seen as this, but it's taken away all their like time and effort in their life where they haven't been able to, I guess, work on themselves or find who they really are and what they like and what they want.
And also it proves it to themselves. Like if you're looking for a reason to buy into yourself, when you look around and you're like, yeah, I'm more attractive, or I can hook up with people where other people that I know can't, then that fits your story. And then there's a lot of people who are very they can make themselves very out of touch with reality because we've all got our own.
Yeah, that cognitive dissonance is massive, dude.
Yeah, and then they're in their own little world. They're doing their thing. They're like, and because for everyone it's all about me. So you're like, cool, my life's all
Everyone's
about
the main
me.
character in their own fucking story.
But
yeah.
then you add to that, like you're a bit attractive or you're a bit tall, or you got a fucking big dick or like whatever it is, and you're like, yeah,
fucking
gosh,
got all three, mate. What's going on?
Yeah, that's it. And you add those details, and then
I've always had that theory
really
of
easy to
if you're
buy in.
attractive, tall, and doing all right, you just turn into a piece of shit.
If it happens when you're young, I feel.
Yes.
Because I look back on all the people from high school and the people that were good looking, that were like, I say like hashtag, or in brackets alpha, like what we thought alpha was growing up. And it's like those people now.
Chads.
And like nothing against them. Like they've got married straight away. They're doing their thing and that's great. That's amazing. But now they're like, they're the ones that are like, seem to me, based on like things I see on social media, even seeing them out, that are actually the least happiest right now. So when you have that early, that becomes your persona, that becomes everything in life, that becomes your validation. It's like, okay, I'm this person.
Yeah.
And it's a facade. It's like this thing.
You kind of want to skew in the middle because I feel like the opposite end of like the super, because I obviously live in the incel nerd world. It's like that they become like really dark and like really like woman hatey and like very
and
you want to skew dead center and just be like fucking kind of not ultra Chad when you're there, but you're a bit quirky or whatever, and you're trying to find yourself, and then you kind of hit your stride 20-ish into mid-20s, and then you've kind of found your groove by 25 onwards, and then you can kind of fall into your thing.
Yeah, I think it's anything that's extreme. Like if you're extreme one way or the other, it's like, where does that extremism come from? Does it come from like, if you're extreme in terms of like when you're younger and you're good looking and you've got all that, that's one extreme.
Didn't it's the fear of famine constantly from both ends?
Yeah,
so
I
the
think
fear of famine on the incel end.
If you're extreme on any end of anything, whether it's politics or it's anything, extremism, I feel, comes from a place of acceptance, like people wanting to be accepted. People like, oh, I'm extreme this way because I have hate for the other side, because really deep down that hate comes from...
They won't take my dick, Ras, man.
Yeah, like,
they won't take it at all.
Fucking I hate these good looking guys.
Such a nice
They're getting
dick.
all the amazing girls, they're getting all this. Oh, fuck them. No, I don't want that. And they have this hate for girls. Or if it's like those guys that are like good looking, it's like, no, I fucking hate these nerds, whatever.
Yeah.
They're fearful for their...
They won't take my dick,
or their
as
smarts
fucking
or
quiz.
whatever. Yeah, it's extremism of any place.
I'm playing a Chad to everyone listening.
That's why, fucking just be a boring cunt. Be in the middle. No.
Oh, Grinchy.
Oh, that's your mate, isn't it?
Oh, I told him, look up
Grinchy.
Benuch on Twitch. Hey, Grinchy boy.
I think what's the new account? Because there was a Grinchy Grinch last time, right?
No. This is if I'd seen Grinchy Grinch before. Hi, Grinchy Grinch.
Hey, Grinchy
If I'd seen him
Grinch.
before, I would have definitely said hi.
We were just talking about how much we hate you because you're so good looking and so chiseled, and all the girls
we're
are
just
over
talking
you.
about you.
A
Actually,
Chad.
you
About
probably just
extremism.
missed
Is that
the holy trinity.
when you shave a sheep?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, dude.
But see, that's why Sheep Shaver was Sheep Shaver Grinchy.
Swan.
No, but see, he's not, because we've had conversations. And although actually,
his whole
he
thing
skewed
backs
Chad
what I'm
when he was
saying.
younger. Actually, yeah.
No, because when this person was younger, they, them, wasn't apparently good looking, pimples, whatever, went through this transformation phase. So when you've gone through that and grown and become your adult self, like especially as a male, like it's not until at least 25 till you start to
He would
kind
be
of,
really good on this episode, actually.
like find some sort of homeostasis in your
Be
brain.
on the podcast at some.
That would be great.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
That'd be a lot
We
of
should
fun.
get all of us here.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it took him a while
We
to
get cigars
feel
instead of
like
smoke alarms.
pretty much. Well, where are the cigars? I was expecting
I've got a
cigar.
chocolate one that says that sounds weird.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that again.
Tune in next week when we talk about our
Eat my ass.
downstairs chocolate
Yes.
cigar experience. But yes, that's why the swan apparently wasn't comfortable with his appearance or whatever, didn't feel good looking until he was a bit older. And so when you've gone through that phase of like development phase without having that thrown on you from society and having all these like women, or if you're a girl, having all the men on you, then you get to be a bit more introspective and like develop, I think, and be not a fucking cunt.
I think that's very important. But I guess what sucks, and that I guess like the hyper left will be like, it's because of like the hookup culture and all that sort of stuff that's kind of bred that feeling. It would be good for there to be mechanisms kind of when you're growing up, on whatever spectrum that you're at, to have people like to be there to reassure you and be like, it's going to be all right, dude or chick. You know, like no matter where things are at this point, you don't need to overcorrect to then like, you know, get the dream or the person or whatever. It's going to be okay as long as you don't completely shut off from everyone around you.
It's an ever-present lesson, but you couldn't go to that swan friend of ours. Go to them at that time and be like, hey, dude, you know, you're not always going to be pudgy. You're going to lose your puffy fat, the thing, and here's a fucking photo of you at, you know,
yes,
episode 2021.
Yeah.
And like,
you're actually right, 100%.
Because it's an ever-present lesson that's like, you know, this too will pass, things will get better.
Yeah.
But who knows, you're not going to be able to show them better.
The when.
Go, that's what it's going to look like. You just,
it could be more though, the thing of the like, if you go down this path, and it's a really hard conversation that you probably can't actually have with people because it doesn't even make sense now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you can never tell
to be
someone.
like, you're going to turn into this piece of shit that's like fucking everyone.
Yeah,
like,
I know you're a fat piece of shit now.
Yeah.
Some weight. But,
So especially with the Chad dude, but that's the thing is like, I think he was the more like that always. And it kind of reinforced that sort of behavior. So it gets so finite and there's so many different variations.
Yeah, I guess if you could, if you were the Chad, or if you were you were you.
What do you mean if I was the Chad dude?
That Chad. I mean, you are obviously the Chad.
I made a podcast so I could be a Chad.
You are.
Fucking deep.
Thanks, man.
In Chad we trust. Yeah, the way like what we were just talking about, like if you could go back to your old self and say, no, it's going to be all right or whatever.
Yeah, well, you knew me when I was like hyper fat.
Yeah, but I think the key point for me anyway is it doesn't matter about like what you can go back and say to your past self about how you're going to end up. I think the key, like for me personally, if I could go back to myself back in the day, I wouldn't say, oh, you're going to end up like this or this is going to be, I'd be like, whatever your gut feel is, whenever you're doing something and you feel like you're doing it to be accepted by certain people, or you're doing whatever, just fucking follow whatever is true to you. Like if you don't want to go to this club with these people because you feel like, fuck, I've got to be a
I hate
macho,
clubs.
like
They're so pretentious.
I got to be this, like you and I, like wogs, old school, like father figures that are really like fucking
clubs.
Yeah. Like growing up, it's like, oh, this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be alpha.
That's actually what my parents told me, like verbatim. Like, you go to clubs at night to meet people. Like, that was it. And I was like, cool.
They said it to you? Or?
Yeah, they said it to me. Yeah.
So my advice to my
did this go?
Younger self, my advice to my younger self would be I wouldn't even say like you're going to end up like this, that you'll be whatever. I'd just be like, keep fucking listening to your gut. Don't do the things that feel like you're putting on something that's not you.
Yeah.
And the right people will gravitate around you and you'll become the person that you're meant to be, because everyone's fucking different. And that's why I think like even this fucking Chad dude.
Yep.
Like, yeah, obviously he was a cunt the way he went about it, but I'm
wild.
sure he's probably like in this whole like self-discovery, like wanting fucking love, wanting
like
affection.
I think he's before that.
That was my question. Was I was like, if that what happened with Chad happened to me, like you were like, oh, I went back and I was Chad. I was like, oh, I was Chad. That'd be a real wake up call to me. You know, I would come to that, realize that'd be me learning that lesson.
Well, he did take a week. He took a week mental leave off work.
Because
after both chicks,
because he's probably fucking embarrassed to go to work.
Because his two timing ended. He's down to one girl,
and they're at work.
He's down to no girls, apparently.
Wait, did the other? No, the other one didn't work with
to
him.
each other.
Yeah.
But one of them works with him.
They Voltroned up, dude. They connected up and then just turned into like a Voltron.
They Power Ranger. They meta.
Yeah. But they like so that's the thing was.
But I doubt he's. But then that's what's weird because then it changes it. So rather than Chad being like, "Oh, I'm introspective. I shouldn't have fucked these people over," then he feels fucked over by those people, and he's like, "Oh, those
he will
fucking
most likely double down. He will most likely double down.
Women are
He's a Chad after
and
all.
because he's got the reasoning of, I told her we weren't dating. We were never dating. We were never dating. And then imagine if he finds out that she fucked his best mate. He's going to write everything that he did off.
He's justifiably.
Yeah, that's
it's
fucked.
fine.
Let's
justifiably.
not glance over that one.
That's the thing.
No, but this is
Why
the
did
thing
she
is
hook up with
we
him?
end up because this is the
Was
thing
there
is I think
pre-sexual tension or
everyone took the liberties of the we're not dating to do whatever. So I think if you're in that no man's land of whatever, you need to understand literally like whatever's going to happen. Like you fucked his best friend.
That's whatever.
He is most likely going to do something equivalent because there's a no holes barred dating space of fuck.
What did you say? No holes barred.
No holds barred.
I'm pretty sure you said holes. But
Holes? Okay.
Yeah.
I meant to say holds. But
Doing
yes, that
pornos.
would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been good. I missed the joke. Fuck. But yeah, I think the grey area is what ultimately undid that. And because I think
But that's the game. That's the risky game that he was playing. That's the
but I think
he's
more
letting
from
it
Sleb
ride.
that because I think she
Wait,
wanted
hang
to
on.
be with him. Fucking screen.
When she hooked up with his best friend,
Yes.
did she didn't know at that point that he was there with his ex.
No.
So they
No,
both
but
fucked
he
up.
already said, "Don't worry about it." So she's like, "Oh, you're not interested? How about now, dickhead?"
Yeah, yeah.
And he's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, well, guess what? I'm in fucking Bali dating the real one." Sorry
The
to
real
any
one. That was-
schlaps who may be sitting at home
You get-
watching along at home. My apologies.
I'm gonna clip that because that was fantastic. That was so good.
That's a soundbite for the fucking
for the ages.
internets. Yeah, that's
It's amazing. But you are 100% right. Because it was this thing of like they were subliminally trying to one up each other because they had no boundaries.
My issue with it is still the whole like
old-fashioned power struggle.
Lying. If they both knew that they were on a break, or they both knew there wasn't going to be anything official, or whatever it may be. Yeah, I think she kind of did a fucking dirty by hooking up with his mate, but
That was
he
her
shouldn't
tactic.
have lied.
That was the card she had to play.
Like if they were open and whatever, like he shouldn't have had to lie about going to the thing with mates because like if there was any chance of them two being together or whatever.
I always think, yeah. And it's not that it's like whoever drew the first thing or whatever, but I think like clearly what's going on is they're in this situation, they're going along. He's like, I'll do all the right things. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. This is fucking great. She's like, cool. If I just keep doing all these things, we'll lock this down into a relationship and we fucking cooter at the age of 28, a couple of years, 30, popping out
Perfect.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's, and again, that's generalizing.
But I think you might have hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, so she's like, cool, we'll lock this down. And he's like, I'm just going to play loose and fast.
Yeah.
And he played a little too loose and a bit too fast.
Yeah.
She's obviously come back in and gone, oh, yep, cool. Fuck your best mate then. If we're so grey
She was probably
area.
validated with that.
Yeah, so
when
then
she
she would have
found
gone
out
off and
about-
done that. And then she's like, even if we don't hook up, like, fuck you, dickhead. Like, you know, you played it like this. And so then.
So if you to take anything out of today's story is don't be the cuck mate that fucks your best friend's fuck
Well,
buddy.
he probably got out of it the best out of everyone.
Well, what I got
except
out of
he's
it-
fucked his mate over.
Do what you want.
and they're not going to be friends anymore.
Do
But I
what you
guess
want, but
that's
be honest about it.
maybe that was his play.
That's it.
Actually, no.
Fucking chat.
I said do what you want, but be honest about it. But if she had told him that
Yeah.
she hooked up and fucked his best mate.
Yeah, but I guess that you look at the kind of guy that like the Chuck Cuck is, and the only reason he probably met Schleb is probably because he's friends with that dude. So he's bottom feeding anyway. So that's his MO. He's always going to hang out with dudes that are more attractive than him, more charismatic than him, and then fuck him when no one's looking, and then
Orbiters.
Yes, I was like, I should probably use that word. But I don't know that. Orbiters are those people. To everyone,
Yeah, you
watching.
said it in a message to me earlier today.
Yes,
About orbiters.
because he is one.
I am one.
Yeah, so that's I guess long story short, it's much easier to be upfront and honest and take people at face value. If someone is telling you something, but then they are showing you the opposite, you need to really look at kind of their motivations, why they would be doing something like that. If it's something that you really want and you feel like you're reading between the lines, it's almost impossible, because I've been in that situation where you try to make it work and like think this is cunt face from Richmond. And you try and like, you're like, it's cool, they're saying this, but they're doing something else. But as long as they're saying this, it's fine. You just need to kind of own up to what's happening.
I think what made me go. You did it.
I was going to disagree and say that is a difficult thing, because when you do have someone saying one thing and doing another thing, it can land in either camp or anywhere in between, and it's not definitive, and people jump to that conclusion and go, oh, this is happening, so therefore it's the same as that other time when that question was. And it's not actually that. It's a pause for examination of why does it have this stink. What if you're really in defeat? You mean what if?
I got to a point, I guess, in the past, I say the past year and a half, because that's when I moved back from Berlin. Moved back from Europe, broke off my ex when I was over there. So this is like being the next phase of my life, of exploring the world myself. I think, when someone says something and you feel that it's their actions or something is different, even if you can't like put it onto paper and be like, oh, she said this, or they said this, but they did this. Even if you can't like tangibly
you kind of
make this list, you feel when something is like, wait, what's going on here? So I was at this point the last couple of years where I'm like, anytime anything feels disingenuous, anytime I feel like my heart or emotions or something is like at risk of being hurt or whatever, I just fucking pull back. And maybe that's not the best thing, but like I'm just like, I'm out at like any inkling of it.
But do you think it's because you have a repertoire now that you can kind of know when you probably should pull back?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. One is that, like, knowing that, like, okay, I've seen this before, I've been through this before. But in the past, I've realized the difference is, like, in the past, I'd be like, wait, what the fuck? I really like this person.
Yes.
I'm going to try and ignore that and look at the positives and look at the good things, because fuck it. Like, I just want to cling.
You want it. Yeah.
I want to be,
you want
like, I want it. But now, and that was kind of out of fear of, fuck, if I don't have this, then, oh shit, I got nothing.
It's the famine state. You're like,
by myself.
I'm in
like,
a pussy
scared.
famine. What is this?
Yeah, I'm scared what's going to happen. Whereas what changed was I see that, and then recently I'm like, I don't care if it doesn't work out, or I don't feel like I'm invested in needing this to validate like my own happiness or self-worth or anything. I'm like, okay, I don't feel like something's right here. Pull back and have faith and know that, like, it's doesn't matter. Everything's going to be all right. I'm going to meet someone, or even if I meet no one, I'd rather have no one than have something that doesn't make me feel good.
It just sucks that takes 30 odd years to get there.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
30 years for me.
Yeah.
But
some people do it.
People never get there for their entire life.
That's the thing.
Their entire life.
Yeah, they jump
most
into
people
those.
I'd
be
say.
lonely and feeling like someone else would have fixed their entire fucking life if they had have just had someone. It's just
ironically enough,
they don't
I think a lot of people end up in the close enough, good enough scenario.
Most people do.
And I think that's
everyone who
and
has
out of fear,
mostly,
because they're worried about being what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
So you just
that's what one of my exes was. That I got two great fears of what are your two biggest fears? And my two biggest fears are, one is I'm worried about ending up alone, and I'm like, fair enough. It's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's better than ending up with the wrong person.
Yeah.
So that's my other fear is ending up with the
you
wrong
think Johnny
person.
Depp's worried about being alone?
Well, just fucking leave. You can leave at any time, you know. Oh, but what if I end up stuck there? And it's like, you can just leave.
That's a big takeaway from today, I think, is if you build something of value within yourself, there's actually no worry to be alone.
Yeah, as long as it's congruent with yourself, what feels right.
The other thing too is so many times people, you know, oh, I'm just fucking thing, I don't know, whatever, and then they get into a relationship, and it's not like their life starts, but they're like, oh, cool, okay, cool. They got a fucking couple of things, like, you know, before a certain stage, people are like, I don't have something to protect, and then they have something in their life, and they're like, cool, I'm gonna do this thing for this reason. A lot of times, people will be, I feel like it's particularly men as well, will be particularly like, if they're not in a relationship, there's a few people that I know who kind of just be like, oh, you know, they're not there full self, and then when they're in a relationship, they're their full self. And I think there's a certain there's a validation of like, oh, someone likes me and someone would hang around with me and whatever else.
Yep.
There's the, you know, the hopes and dreams, you know, the rest of your life thing and all that type of thing that comes into it as well. But yeah, I think a lot of the time people do define themselves by
the person they end up with,
a relationship,
and that's really fucking dangerous. 100%.
Or even just, would anyone, you know, have a bar of this at this current moment?
Yeah.
Oh, pussy famine. Like,
yeah.
I think that's like a big thing that's going on at the moment, or like maybe it's gone on forever. Where like
I think COVID made it real bad because when people got left alone.
Yeah, like there's this almost counter thing now where it's like, oh, no, you need to be able to be like fully happy and be by yourself forever. Only then can you like be with someone else. But I think there's like, yeah, I do think that when you're by yourself, you find yourself, like, you know, what you want, what you don't want. But that's not to say like if you meet someone and you get to a point where it's like, fuck, I know what I want, I know who I am. And you meet someone that brings out what you want and who you are even more. And you have this like relationship and this dynamic that it's like mutually beneficial. Like you're up-leveling each other. Like I thought, like,
I didn't know that existed until I started dating Amy.
Yeah, right. I had this dream of that. Like I almost set such high standards that I was like, no, I'm never going to find anyone. And that was fine. Like it wasn't in from a negative place. I'm like, I'm setting such high standards that like, I don't think I'll ever find it. And that's fine. Like,
yeah.
But I think there's like a balance of having high standards, but also having like protecting myself from being hurt or from like going through a fucking relationship again and everything that goes with it. But now that I've kind of like found that, I'm like, yeah, it's like you can't put it onto paper and you can't like really explain other than just like the feelings when it feels right. Like when you feel like you could still do the things that are like true to you or like your passions, your hobbies, whatever. And there's no like animosity. There's no like mistrust, or when you feel seen for who you are in a relationship and you feel like empowered to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And you feel like you're doing that for the other person. And it's like, it's beautiful to be in there.
And that's the thing too, is like you won't feel someone holding you back from doing things because it makes them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, openly, like I wanted to do a podcast many relationships ago. Every partner was like, if you make a relationship dating podcast, that's going to feel bad for me. Amy's the only one that was like, obviously you should do that. Like if that's what you want to do and that makes you happy. And that's kind of when you know.
And that's the thing, right? You can now say whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And be your authentic self.
She has to sit back at
She
home.
hates it. She does. She hates all of the fuck stories and stuff.
Yeah.
But
the difference is everyone's got
like,
them.
You just take that rope.
Take
that rope, Pete.
Everyone's fucking got them. But no one says it.
Yeah.
But you've got them and you're actually saying it. So if anything, like you're being more honest and you're building this closer thing with her. So I fucking love that about you and Amy.
Yeah, it's I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, oh yeah, no, I kind of can't do that because like it's gonna make them feel uncomfortable and stuff. And when there's someone that's awesome that you end up with, they're gonna want you to do that sort of shit because then they see you get excited about it. And they see you like post dumb shit, and it's cool. Like they just get excited because you look like
if
you're
you were
having
a
fun.
fucking cunt or you had like bad things or you were like, then it would come out in the podcast.
Yeah,
and yeah,
it's just you do really feel that, and I think to bring it back to the Chad stuff is like probably don't date that far back because I guess we're kind of realizing that happens later. Right. So if you feel like you're ready to settle down, I think it's safe to say a lot of younger dudes are still trying they're in a different headspace. And it takes dudes a lot longer. Fuck, man. I don't think I crossed that until I was like 32.
Because what you said before.
Women mature a lot more quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So she's a lot older than Chad in this situation.
Yeah, and I think because it's without disclosing too much, you know, she'd been on things on TV and stuff and all that sort of thing and was ready to settle down, I think, and just kind of landed with a dude who is a kid, man.
Yeah, it's what you said about like what we're fed. Like we grow up, we're fed this whole thing about like finish school, whatever, find a wife, have a family, buy a house, do these things. And like nothing against that, because I think that is important if it comes from the right place. But like when everyone's wearing that lens of that's what I need to do, then they'll kind of like dismiss these things that don't feel right. Yeah. They'll get married and be like, okay, these things don't feel right. Hang on, but on paper, I'm doing what I'm meant to do. Yeah. So I think we're blessed in the sense of we've got out of the things that we shouldn't have been in relationships and whatever. Yeah. We're at this stage of our life.
Because none of that was on my own.
But it's also like part of the journey, right? Like you dropped in this fucking life or whatever, and it's like you've got to work it out for yourself. But then people are going to be like, well, fucking, there's my instruction manual, like, tell me what to do. And then it's like, oh, look, there's this like shitty, like photocopied takeaway menu that's got some instructions on it. Like you can have a look at that. Yeah. You're not going to like it. Yeah. You're like, I got no fucking idea. Just give me this shit thing. I'll do that. I'll work out why it's no good. And then I'll just fucking, at least I'll be started and then I can shape it from there, sort of thing. So I think it's like, our thing that we have to start, and some people go in and know what it is that they want to do, but for the vast majority of people, they don't know what they're doing.
They're trying to feel it out.
Like, what do I do? What does everyone else do? What does it say? Like what does it say in the box? What are they doing on Instagram? Like, what are most people doing?
Yeah, what are you being fed that you should do?
Yeah. And what are most people doing? It's like before, you're like, just go for the fat part of the curve, just fucking bam, straight down the middle. Not for this, not for that, straight in the middle. Yeah. And it's like, it's a valid tactic. Yeah. Especially when you don't know if you're going for a goal and you're like, I'm going to weave it past the post, I'm going to fucking do this, I'm going to do that. Just go straight for the fucking middle is the best chance you've got if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
that's the podcast. Yeah. Straight up the guts. No, you're right though.
Straight up the guts. Dating and relationship advice.
Fucking right in the pussy. I've always wanted to say that. I've never been in a situation where
I'm actually surprised that that's not one of your sound bites.
Exactly.
I know. There's so many and not enough buttons. I have like 4 windows and it gets confused and,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. They animate. Look. See? That was the...
was that a
Inception.
repurposed macro keypad from your gaming?
It's actually designed specifically for streaming.
Specifically for streaming. For podcasting.
I used it for podcasting, but it's for streaming. Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
But I guess that's it for us because we've hit an hour and a half. We could probably keep going longer. But I think we'd stray off point. So do we want any closing sentiments?
I have a lot of closing sentiments.
If you can give us
I can't
one.
be bothered going through
Give
it
me
now.
one.
If you are.
If you have one, James, drop it right
Follow
now.
your fucking gut.
And my sincerest apologies.
No, I actually think it was really good.
Apologies for
the podcast.
I like this more freestyle, just like us talking shit.
Yeah.
I feel like if we just had like a camera and audio on our normal conversations as well.
I'll try. I'll try and have something a little
like
bit
day
more.
to day. Like
I'll wear like a GoPro on my chest if you like.
I like that this is natural. We didn't force like to jump from one thing to another.
We should just mic the studio for the next Tunes Day comes up. We can just capture the magic.
Now, my closing statements would be, fucking follow your gut and things always work out.
I think so.
As they're meant to be. And also, it'd be interesting if like anyone watching now or like listening to it on any of your sources where you put it, if they had any like feedback or questions or like their own views on what we're talking about.
Do you mean if they had any feedback, they could send that to irrelevant.platitudes@gmail.com or go to linktr.ee/IrrPlatPod and you can find all of our methods of contact and avenues to reach out and drop in anything you have.
That's IrrPlat with 2 R's, IRR.
Yes, you corrected. Yes, thank you, Nate. Good work.
Yeah, I was erring on the side of caution.
Okay, dude. But yeah, so if it looks like shit and smells like shit, it's a steaming pile of shit is my sentiment for the evening.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Follow your guts. Thanks, guys. We're going to sign off and have a few more drinkies. Bye.
What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting. The car's cold.
Get the fuck out of here! What? Fucking warm it up. Get out of here!
Here, man.
When we're not.
Get out of here. Thanks for listening to Irrelevant Platitudes.